All right, guys. Our next guest is a former Strikeforce middleweight champion, currently fighting in the PFL. He is coming off a big Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu win over great Murilo Santana, a fight to win Pro 51. He also helped GSP prepare for his big fight against Michael Bisping this weekend. A member of the world-renowned Scrap Pack. It's a pleasure to welcome our old friend Jake Shields back to Submission Radio. Jake, it's felt like forever. Welcome back to the program.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thank you. Yeah, it's been staying busy, I guess.
You are a busy man. A lot going on in the world of Jake Shields. It is great to have you back on the program. Congratulations on the win over Santana at Fight to Win Pro. It was a very close fight. Now that it's been a little bit of time since the win, what did you think of the contest?
Yeah, I think Milo Santana is actually one of those guys that's really good. Maybe not as big a name, how talented he is. It was the match was a lot closer than I wanted. I wanted to go out there and obviously get a submission, but Santana being such a tight, tough guy, he had a really good close guard. I got stuck in the close guard most of the match, which kind of sucked, and it would obviously want more to happen. But, luckily I was able to go out there and get the win at least.
It's funny because you're an accomplished fighter in MMA, but you've been really dominating the competitive grappling world for quite some time. Tell me, what is it about the competitive Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu scene that just keeps you coming back? Because I know a lot of people, they've had a taste of it, and it's not their style.
Yeah, I like it. I've always loved jiu-jitsu. Like I like all the martial arts, but jiu-jitsu has always been my favorite. And it's now these pro shows are popping up everywhere. You can go out and make a little money and grapple, stay busy with competing. It's I still love MMA, but there's only only want to fight a couple times a year. Going out and getting punched, it's a serious business. It's stressful. It's a lot going on when you fight. But to me, grappling is more just like fun, relaxing. I don't have the stress, and I'm still getting to go and compete and make a little money.
Going by what you just said, I feel like I kind of know the answer to this one, but what do you enjoy training for more? BJJ comps or MMA fights?
Probably BJJ as well, but I don't know. I like training for MMA. It's just sometimes you get a little beat up because you're having to do all that sparring, and there's times where it's like, oh man, I'm so sore. You still get sore training for the jiu-jitsu, but it's not quite the same. You're not getting punched in the face at least.
And of course, you trained with Team Renzo Gracie, which features the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu genius John Danaher, Beast Gary Tonin, and countless others. What's it like training in a room full of such Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu talent? And when you're in a room with so much skill, what's the rolling like?
Oh, it's great because, like I said, these guys are the best of the best. You have, led by John, he's truly a jiu-jitsu genius. He's always coming up with innovative and new techniques and always trying to push us to expand. But then you also have a room full of tough guys. Obviously Gary, Gordon, those guys are successful, but then there's a bunch of other good guys underneath. So you're constantly, you're brainstorming new ideas, good techniques, picking into the brain. And then, the live sessions get pretty intense as well. There's luckily everyone's not quite as good as those guys. So you can grab an easy round here or there, but usually there, an easy round is still like a good brown belt. You're like, oh, I need to take an easier round. And you look around, and the easiest guy you can see is a brown belt. So you're like, well, I guess I'm going with him.
That's so funny because this is something that Dennis and I would do. We'd look for the easy guy and then, get that ego boost. But you, the great Jake Shields, even you do that from time to time.
Well, you don't want to always be battling every single round. I think that's a mistake a lot of people make, and a mistake I've made in my past. Even like John was like, even he said, you don't want every round to be going with Gordon and Gary and the best guys battling. Sometimes it's good to grab these new guys and try to, because we're working new techniques. I'm not going to go try a new technique and then go and execute it on Gordon or something I just learned. So it's like sometimes I grab the other guys, and that's when you try your new moves and learn and expand. So I try to, I actually try to spend about half my time going with guys that are really pushing me and like half guys where I can kind of play around and try new things.
That just reminds me of when I used to train Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and I got beat up by the blue belts. So then I'd look for white belts that have never rolled before in their life. And then they'd beat me as well. Anyway, let's move on. Just quickly on Tone, and we know he's making his move to MMA with one. Did he approach you for any advice, and how far do you think he can go in this transition to MMA?
Gary?
Yeah.
We're always, brainstorming things, but like he's coached by John. But I'm sure he'll be using it a lot when he transfers over. But I think he can go all the way. Gary's he's not switching to MMA to do it half-ass. He's already making I don't know what he makes, but I imagine he's making a very comfortable living in MMA. He has a successful school. He does seminars. He makes money with these tournaments. So he's not switching over because he needs the money. He's switching over. He could easily just do a life jiu-jitsu and make, I'm sure high six figures a year. But he wants to fight to be the best. And, he has some of the best work ethic I've ever seen. The guy's in there, 7 a.m. every day, then again at noon, and then, he goes over and teaches all day at night and, hits pads in between work. So with his work ethic, I think he can go to the top.
Wow.
Obviously, it's going to take, it's going to take a little bit. He shouldn't jump in and try to fight the best of the best his first couple fights. He's probably built up. His experience still is still really important. But you give him a couple years to build and fight the right people. I think he can be fighting world champions.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously another man training with the team is your former opponent, GSP, who you've helped leading into this fight against Michael Bisping, UFC 217. Was it a bit weird actually working with George after your rivalry, going back from UFC 129?
It actually wasn't, because George is the guy I've always respected. He's one of the few guys that, looked up. I've hung out with him a couple times after the fight, ran to it in Vegas. So we've been out and hung out together. And then me having, moved to New York, I've been training with John. John's been training George for years. So it kind of, George came by the gym in New York. So, I talked to him there. We had a couple light workouts first. So it wasn't, we'd already worked out together a few times before me going up there. So it didn't seem weird at all.
Did you hear how Michael Bisping was actually considering to bring you in as well? You're a hot commodity, Jake Shields. Everybody wants to bring you on board.
Yeah, no, it was funny. He actually, Bisping's a friend of mine. He wrote me on Twitter, like, oh, you want to come by? And I'm just like, it makes sense for the style matchup, but I had to be like, oh, sorry, I like Michael, but being here with being here training under John, I guess Bisping didn't realize I was out here. So obviously, if I'm training under the guy who trains George, can't go out and do that.
How did he take it? Because, obviously, I don't know, Michael, we don't know him like you do, but I feel like he's one of those guys that's all about kind of like loyalty. Did he bust your balls a little bit? Like, oh, come on, you're working with that guy, not me?
Yeah, I didn't really talk to him after that, so I don't know. So he might hate me now, but as far as I know, we're still cool. We've never been like great friends, but I've always liked Michael, got along. He's one of a lot of people don't like Michael. I know a lot of people have had trouble with him. I've personally never had any issues with him, so. As far as I know, we're still cool.
Yeah, just buy him a beer.
But you never know. He's one of those guys. He's one of those guys that sets off pretty easy too. I know a lot of people have had issues with him and don't like him, but personally, never had any issues.
The key is buying him alcohol, Jake. Not too much alcohol, just enough for him to love you again. But let's quickly talk about training.
Just give him a shot.
Yeah, just give him a shot, but not too many shots, because then he might get a bit aggressive. But anyway,
yeah.
Let's talk about GSP, because you had previously fought him before, so you would have had a gauge of his skills. But having trained with him now and sort of seeing what he can do, did it give you a different perspective of how good of a grappler he really is?
I've always thought he was a great grappler. So no, I think he's always been a top jiu-jitsu guy. Having trained with John, I knew his great wrestling, so I knew he was a great grappler. And having trained with him, he's what I expected. Really good, great passing, strong, talented. So he's I've always looked at him as one of the best fighters of all time, and still do.
Do you find that, I'm not sure if you were able to gauge this, but did you find him to be better than in the past? Because that's kind of one of the notions, the theories that, even though George has been on the sidelines, he's been training, potentially experimenting, maybe, expanding his arsenal. Did you find him to be different than back in the day when you guys fought?
Yeah, no, I think he is improving. He's a martial artist, so he's always trying to grow. He wasn't just, took whatever it took for. He didn't take 4 years and just party and film movies and cruise around. He was still training pretty much every day. He was coming to New York. I think he was going out and working boxing as well. I know he had a guy from Toronto, a really good boxer, Jorge, who was working with him as well. So he was constantly learning and expanding new skills. So definitely. Plus, he's bigger now. He probably put on 10 pounds of muscle. He's still going to be smaller than Bisping, but he has that extra weight, which should help.
Because that is the big question going into UFC 217. How does he do after this huge break against a guy like Michael Bisping, who is bigger and has very good grappling abilities himself? Do you think the weight and the time away is going to be an issue, in your opinion?
I'm training with George up, so I'm going to pick George. I think George is going to win the fight, but it's a tough fight. I'm training with Bisping as well, and guys underestimate him. I don't know why everyone always underestimates Bisping. He's, I guess he doesn't have a lot of single punch KO power, and he doesn't have a lot of these fast submissions, but he's strong, in shape, and he wears people down. He just keeps coming and he breaks you. So if George has a hard time taking him down and keep him down, it could be a tough fight.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, the explosiveness is another big question. Will GSP still have it? He had that ACL surgery sort of somewhere in between in his layoff. If he does choose to take Bisping down, do you think he'll be able to do it? And do you think he'll be able to sort of keep him down and do it over 25 minutes?
Yeah, that's the exciting part about the fight right there. That's where everyone wants to see it. To me, this is the fight I'm super pumped to watch. I've trained with both these guys. It's super exciting. Will he be able to, when he hits his shot though and his timing's on, he has probably the best shot in the sport. He just blasts through it, it's down. And he's also really hard to get up on. But, as you've seen, if you watch a lot of this thing's fight, he's really hard to keep down. So it's going to be exciting to see what happens. I mean, I think if he's got it, he's clicking again in training. But as long as he doesn't go out there, it's different between training and fighting. Like I said, there's a long time for layoffs. So can he put his nerves? Can he relax and go out there and do it in the cage against Bisping, who's really confident right now?
Mm-hmm. And while we're having a little bit of fun, it looks like if he wins, people are sort of expecting him to possibly fight Conor McGregor soon. How do you think GSP goes against a guy you know well in Conor McGregor? Do you think that's an easy fight for GSP?
Yeah, I think it's a really bad matchup for Conor. I think GSP is possibly the worst matchup for him because the way he hits his shots, he can cover so much distance. And he's really hard to get up on. So I think that'd be a really bad fight for Conor. But, you never know. Anything can happen in these fights. Conor has that. He does have that one-punch knockout power.
Yeah, of course, he's always dangerous. And just quickly on McGregor before we get off that topic, we know your good friend, training partner Nate Diaz still looks like a strong candidate for a third fight with McGregor. Everything's up in the air. Do you believe it happens? And how does a third fight go in your opinion, Jake?
I think it'll happen at some point. I don't know if it's going to be the next fight or not, but I think the fans are always going to want to see that fight, even if much ever happens. Even if McGregor loses, wins, I think people are always going to want to see Diaz and Conor 3. I mean, I certainly do, and I imagine you do as well. I think everyone I talk to wants to see that fight. So it'll happen at some point. And, I think Nate's going to win. I think it'll, like the first one, he ran through him. I think the second one, I mean, like I said, Conor's got that power, so anything can happen. But I think Nate's got him figured out. So go out there and beat him.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, of course, as the man, that's dominating Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu competitions right now, the big question right now is if Tony Ferguson was the guy who fought McGregor, will his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu pose a threat to beating McGregor? Do you think that's enough if those two end up fighting?
I mean, it's an interesting fight as well. Like you said, it's hard to predict these fights. I hate going out there and predicting these fights because you never know until they fight. That's why they do it. But I think I'd pick Conor on that fight. I think the way Ferguson fights kind of puts his chin up. He has okay takedowns, but not crazy good takedowns. Good jiu-jitsu, so he definitely could catch Conor, but I think Conor might be able to survive, get back to his feet, and put him down with his power.
It'll be another fun one. All right, let's go back to you, Jake, as we let you go soon. We know you obviously coming off that win in July in the newly renamed PFL. How do you like the change from World Series of Fighting to the PFL so far? How are you sort of finding that?
Honestly, for me, it seemed pretty much the same so far.
Yeah.
It's like all working most of the same people. So I'm not quite sure the name change, but it seemed the same. I mean, the way it sounds like it's going to be good with the tournament they're doing, be paying good. So they're hiring new people and new execs. So it's supposed to be a positive change, but you never really know till things go through. And the first show is pretty much identical, so I'm just waiting to see what happens next.
I was just going to say, it kind of sounds like you sort of, you haven't really based your opinion yet. You're sort of seeing how things play out. I know in the past, a lot of fighters with World Series of Fighting, the main gripe was just not getting enough fights or getting fights when they wanted them. How are you finding that in at the moment? And is that something you're sort of waiting to see how it plays out? And,
overall, they fought me usually pretty close to when I wanted to fight. I've been waiting here or there, but right now I'm ready to fight again and waiting to hear if this tournament's actually happening in January or not. I heard rumors maybe pushed back a month or two, and it's like I'm a little older and don't have long to fight, so I want to hurry up to get out there. So I'm hoping they get moving and fight me. But overall, they treated me good. So I'm not going to knock the show. They've always treated me good, paid well, and fought me when I wanted. It's just I'm ready to fight again. So I'm hoping I don't get held off.
Mm-hmm. And we imagine everywhere you go, people still bringing up the fact that you hold wins over the top fighters in the UFC welterweight division. And, having worked with guys like GSP and obviously your good friend Nate Diaz, have you gotten more of an urge to maybe circle your way back to the UFC anytime soon, especially with the welterweight division being, I suppose, more exciting than ever? There's a whole bunch of great fighters in there now. Yeah,
I mean, I don't really think about that much, but I would go back there. I think, I'm improving again. I'm learning a bunch of new stuff, and I feel like I keep getting older. I feel like I'm getting better and better, and I would love to go out and fight it. I've already beaten a lot of the top UFC guys, and there's some new guys that are looking pretty good out there that I'd like to fight as well.
Just curious, who are those guys? Who's someone that sort of caught your eye and you've watched fight and you're like, wow, that could be a fun matchup. That could be a fun fight.
The guy Damian Maia seems like a fun guy. He's going out there. He's winning big fights, talking shit. I don't know too much about him, but he had a big win with Maia, and that would be an interesting fight. What's his name? Corey
Colby Covington.
I don't even know. Colby. Yeah, I just saw him the first time, and I saw him talking to him on Twitter. I'm like, this guy looks like a fun guy to fight.
Did you see what he said after the win to the Brazilian crowd? Called them filthy animals. It was like a Chael Sonnen situation. They had to rush him out with security. It was crazy.
I think it was great because first I like Brazil, but I understand why he do it. Because you fight down there, they literally start chanting, "You will die."
Yeah.
And everyone freaks out when you fire back. It's like, well, I mean, these guys are telling us we're going to die. Why can't we fire back at them?
Yeah.
I feel like this is a guy that
dish it out, they should be able to take it.
I feel like this is a guy that if he gets out of line, he might get a coffee in the face from Jake Shields. Am I right?
Oh yeah, like I said, I respect him as a fighter, but if he mouths off, I'd fight him for real in a second. He seems like the kind of guy that'd probably be the same, so it might be fun.
Did you? I'm wondering if Darren Till popped up on your radar, Jake, because he's a guy who people are talking about maybe being, sort of like the future. Obviously, welterweight's super exciting. He's talking about, one day moving up all the way to light heavyweight. Is he a guy that's caught your eye?
Yeah, I know. That's a good new guy as well. Yeah, these guys coming out, Knockout Cowboy, these guys kind of coming out. Some of these new young guns all of a sudden started coming out of nowhere with some big wins. And it's like, maybe I always like to fight guys that are good, These guys are going out and proving themselves. So, of course, it's also nice, being older, I want to feel I can still go beat these top young guns.
I feel like everybody...
I've been doing it in grappling. Yeah, I've been doing a lot of grappling lately, beating the top young guns. So next, go back to MMA and start doing it.
I feel like this new injection of guys in welterweight, guys like RDA, Jorge Masvidal, just a whole bunch of guys, makes people really excited to possibly see you return there. And we know you've been dominating MMA for a really long time. You're a father, and obviously you compete in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and dominating at the moment. But have you, being 38 years old, with your body going through what it's gone through with all the training sessions, have you thought about in general how much longer you'd like to keep fighting and how much longer you'd like to stay in the sport of MMA?
Yeah, no, of course. Like I said, I'm getting a little older, so you think, I don't want to overpush this, But right now, I still enjoy the sport, and I don't feel like I'm slowing down. I'm getting old. I'm definitely paying attention to my body now. If I start feeling like I'm slowing down, I do want to retire. Luckily, I'm in a situation, where financially I should be. We always want more money, but financially I'm pretty set, so I can walk away. So I don't want to be out there getting beat up. My body's not at that level, but I feel like I got at least another year or two. But I just take it one fight at a time right now and see what happens.
And I was just going to say, that's actually pretty rare, right? Because there's a lot of, anytime you hear anything about fighter pay, fighters and money and things like that, it's always the horror stories, how much, fighters have to go back to full-time work. But you're, I guess, in the rare boat where you just said that if you were to walk away, you're almost at that point where you're pretty much set. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think maybe I got lucky with getting paid pretty good from the early shows with the, Strike Force, and I got a good contract with the UFC, and I think sometimes guys are making more money than people think, too. There's a lot of backdoor money if you're smart. A lot of other businesses, things you can be doing. And, plus I was investing money and putting money away and making the right investments. And I think if they're smart in the sport, you can make a lot more money than people think. And, the only guys who are making the crazy millions are the champs. But I think even, guys that are fighting for titles and close to that level, some of these guys are making pretty good money. I think some of these guys aren't smart with their money.
That's right. Jake Shields is a drug dealer on the side. Nobody knew. I'm kidding. It's great to hear, Jake, that things are working out. And look, as we let you go, because we really appreciate the time, you've been very, very kind. I know you're a very busy guy. We want to kind of get your official prediction for this big fight between GSP and Bisping. I know you're not a big fan of the predictions, but if Jake Shields had to put his, his savings on it, which way would you go?
I'll go with GSP, I guess, by decision. I think it's going to be a tough fight, but I think GSP, I think he's definitely has a wrestling advantage. I think on the stand-up, they're pretty even. I think Bisping may be a little more high volume and conditioned, where he holds the advantage in the size. But overall, I think GSP is just so talented; he'll find a way to win.
And just to follow up on that, you mentioned the size. Obviously, you training with both of them. Who did you find to be stronger, Jake? Even though Bisping is the bigger man.
I think George is definitely as strong as Bisping, but Bisping has a little more size. He kind of makes it a little, sometimes it's hard to hold someone down. There's awkward taking them down just to the size, even though they're not quite that same. George might be a little stronger because of the way he's built, but It's just still different when you actually have that size. His frame's naturally bigger, which you'll feel that when you're in a big fight. Bisping could easily be a 205 pounder, and George could probably drop 55 if he wanted. So just naturally, he's a bigger guy.
Wow. Well, guys, make sure to follow Jake in the meantime on Twitter at Jake Shields, AJJ, and Instagram at Jake Shields. Jake, thank you so much for jumping on the program. We really appreciate the time. We can't wait to see what happens next, man. We want to see what's happening next in the world of MMA, so we'll have to get you back on when that happens. Thanks again, my friend.
Cool, man. Sounds good. All right. Good talking to you.
Thanks, Jake. Bye.